All right, greetings everybody. Welcome back. So today we're going to be working on we're going to try to work on email integration back into the application. So far, they said it's going to take about 2 weeks, to help us out with Azure. So we're going to use another third party come try to help us out here, called RestDB.io. So let's go ahead. If you go ahead, open it up. We're going to go ahead and make a new account here. Right? Even though it says NoSQL database backend, right? It does a lot more than that. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign up and pause the video while it enters in some credentials. Right, so now my account's created. Right, so what I want to go ahead and do should be able to create a new application. Right, so NIDLS DP app. This is really an app. Right. Okay, so it's really set. So I'm going to do a use camel case. It's still set. Use only lowercase letters or numbers. Oh, that's unfortunate. App 0. Right, so right, that's going to be my API key. Right, I should have that whited out, but I'll definitely replace it once this video is over. Right, so what I want to go ahead and do, I just want to open up some old code that I had from way back to see how this example works. I'm just going to ish the project I worked on back then. Source app. Oh, it's not immediately obvious what's its foundation. I don't think it's here. I think it's some sort of script. Important exports. I think so. Okay, here it is. Mail message headers. Right, and then I believe if there's headers somewhere in here, content type application.json. All right, there's that. Okay, okay. So this is how I have to set up the request. All right, so let me just go ahead and set it up like so. So it's kind of interesting, right? So I have the backend do it because the backend needs to process a transaction right before anything. And obviously, I don't. I'm not think it's interesting, but right, this isn't secure to have an API key out here on the front end, right? So I'm gonna decide to do it on the back end, right? So I think with that, let me go ahead and set it up. Okay. So, all right, let me go ahead and try to set it up. So what I want to go ahead and do in the application, I want to go ahead and replace basically on collegiate. What I want to go ahead and replace, I want to open up environment variables and edit it. So let me pause the video. So now I want to go ahead and rerun the back end, right? I'm going to rerun the back end like so. Right, so while that runs, right, what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go into my util replace this logic, right? So ultimately, right? When it comes to creating, right, or when it comes to sending mail, now I want to try and encapsulate this, right? So this function, right, what needs to happen, right? I need to return the response, but this needs to be its own function. Let's try to information hide. So go ahead and do that. Usually likes to add things to the top, stuff we can't find, but things have to get added to a local div. So I have to obviously definitely want to change the IntelliSense to kind of help me out here. Right, so now instead of request body, so this should just be request body. And then return the response. Right, so now this becomes send email Azure. Right, so now I don't have to repeat myself every time I want to send an email. Right, I want to go ahead and update my imports while I'm at it. It's a very, very long import, huh? Right, so now instead of using send email Azure, I want to go ahead and grab this old code and send this email instead. Email rest db io. And also I'll also be needing the request body as well. So should I set it up? Try to go really grab it. Headers, content type application.json. No, I really want this to be text HTML. Then I believe this will be my API key, so this will be right. So I don't have anything, so we pause the video, I'll add it. Right, so now replay that video. So what I want to do is instead of this, I want to just go say configs. Go ahead with the server key. I guess cache control, no cache, right? Because I don't, because I want it to receive a new response every time. I don't want to. I want to basically. I want to send an email. I want to see if it went through. Right. The only reason I'm worried is that it's not really turning purple. Right. But I guess it is what it is. I'm trying to do something wrong. No, not for the most part. See if I'm getting any errors. Right. So now I'm looking through this. All right. So Alright, so this is what the body is really going to look like, right? So let me try to set that all up. Usually what I like to do is like I like to try to do it all separately, but here, right, here that's what I see. So yeah, but basically I want to base what I have here on what's going on here. So we try to put it side by side. So Twilio I can't use anymore because I kind of ran out. Ran out in that regard. So here, right, let's just see a regular request body. Message and then headers. Right, so definitely they keep it more on the simple side. So now what I want to body equals 2. Right, and then this logic right here, right, definitely want to see that reused. NOx is not defined. Right, so two additional things aren't defined as well. Say it's not, since it's not closed. It's probably most likely complaining about the syntax errors. Right, so if you try to deal with the syntax errors, I say message is subject. Right, so it looks like I'm passing that along. And then I think what I want to do, I just want to re-implement this. Subject is the subject, and then the HTML is going to be the rect body for me. All right, yeah. So this is going to be email, but yeah, this is going to be JSON. So content subject, content type. Really don't need the content type. I think it's always going to be, but I'm gonna leave it there anyway. And then company would be NIBLS. And I'll say the center name is NIBLS Promotions. Promotions, right? So now what I want to go ahead and do is I want to use the request library, right? So in English, HTTP post, so I want to use request post. This is the URL, right? So I want to replace the URL of this old organization with the URL of the new one. All right, we'll go grab that. All right, so that's the server. That's the server key that I'm using. I'm gonna hijack it one day later. I'm gonna change it one later, so not too worried about that. Now I say message. Yeah, meditation dubs. Thank you, um, Copilot. There's a Copilot extension in here, and these extensions actually activating while Copilot's deactivated, so it's really cool, right? Subject HTML is content, and then I think the last thing I need is the headers. Right, so headers equals headers. Oh, very exhausted, right? And then let's see what the response is. So return response. All right, so now what I could go ahead and do here is right, provide the appropriate. So now what I could go ahead and do in collegiate is provide for the appropriate values. So now so this is my email template. I was trying to set hello world, but I have my email template instead. Alright, so so instead of using this logic right here, right, what I could do is I could say rest equals send email and then restdio and then get that imported. Unfortunately, if anyone has Python IntelliSense, that it should import from relative paths, not absolute paths. Let me know. Right, now I want to put in my content here. So I'm just gonna, instead of this, I'm gonna put right in the email template, right, and then the personalization subject. I think personalization was coming from Twilio, but it's just really the body and then the subject. All right, so with this, all right, you're seeing content type does not use the two emails, right? So it's really going to complain a bit, but let's just go ahead and do this. Is if two emails else, and make sure this value is getting used, and then not really sure. Right, how Python casting works too much, so let's definitely be on the safe side here. All right, so I think I have everything. So I think I have everything I need. Um, so I think I have everything I need. What I want to go ahead and do is now print this error. Okay, I'm always printing the response content, right? So now let's go ahead and try this out. Try application out here, right? Might fail. I feel like some things aren't configured. And it has to be some things not configured here. Well, so even though I got an error, look at this.
Like, if you understand the code, it's a lot easier. It will help you in like coding something for Windows 11 because that same baseline information is in that code, you know. But not having, i.e., street knowledge about that code and understanding the history behind it and why it was developed in such a way, it's kind of hard to just jump in and be able to finagle it that way. And I believe that's why the developers get a major bag, if they're that skilled, because that's only stuff that you'll know if you've ever been in the game, right?
Yeah. So I think with that,
Can I interject right there?
yeah.
That's the what we're talking about is the major disconnect between the industries. Like you have, like in the programming industry, you have the rock stars that can code. Like if I just shot out an idea, you could probably brew something up in like a matter of hours.
Right.
But with that, there's not a bunch of security injected into that code. It's just making the code functional to where I can do the idea that I have in mind.
Yeah. Look, I'm a full stack. When you get to know me, you get to know that like all the stacks. I have all the stacks in mind. I definitely try to throw security, right? So
Okay.
look at these. What we're looking at is our off setup, right? So there's XSRF interceptor, right? So that's for CRSX cookie, right? So the cross-site request forgery, the most common security attack in website applications,
Yep.
right? So we have our interceptor here, right? And then we have an auth interceptor, right, for your regular auth to flow, right? So it should with refresh token, right, access token, and so application token now, right? So it used to be refresh token, access token, right? But now, right, what they have is refresh token, right, your ID token, which is your delegate, and then your application token, which never leaves your server, right? So if you actually kind of take a look here, right, so you take a look here at like a sample, right? So basically, what I have is I need this protect. I want to turn this to a wrapper. Look, we're gonna look at two different pieces of code, right? So this is JavaScript on the left. On the left, this is Python on the right. Right, I'm showing you code. Like I'm literally showing you. Okay, you may know how what the tools to secure it, but I'm literally showing you like security with coding, building out the security. That's what I want to show you a bit, right? So with that, right, what happened is, all right, so basically from here, right, my application made a call to this endpoint without a valid access token, right? Because we validate it, right? And then once you validate it, we raise the API off error, right? So that's what, and then once the validation's missing, we raise the API off error. So before I continue, any questions about that?
I'm I'm tracking. Uh, Again, I'm super green here, so
Oh, super green.
I understand what
Okay.
you're talking about though.
Okay, okay. You know what functions are, right?
Lightly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so think of function as like a way not to repeat yourself, right? Like you like instead of you doing the task, you delegate to one of your subordinates to do the task for you,
Okay.
right? So it's like, okay, my support, instead of you doing the task, repeating yourself, right? You just tell your delegate, hey, do this task, and then no, then your delegate knows to do the task, right? So that's what a function is, right? So instead of you repeating yourself, you ask someone else to do it for you, right? So like the goal is to save time, right? That's basically a function, right? So in a nutshell, layman's, right? So basically, I delegate this work. You'll validate this delegate access token coming from my client. If the validation threat fails, then raise the API off error, right? So now this goes back. So this is Python, right? And now those functions are different. Now in the JavaScript, right? So I mean, and the framework here is Flask, right? So now in the JavaScript, I hijack the request, right? And then I go grab a new Azure Access token, right? So what happened now? Let's try to find the route endpoint. You know what endpoints, right? Right? Or like the
Can you
server
hear me?
endpoint. I couldn't hear you.
You said I know endpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, like workstation or server.
Right. But yeah, that's like an endpoint. But then I think in programming, when we talk about endpoints, we talk about accessing a specific port, and we're accessing a specific route on that port. Right? That's what endpoints are. Because like a program will live on a port, right? Like like what is a program out there? Um, famous software.
Like Putty, it'll operate off of
Yeah,
SSH.
so like Putty, yeah, it's living on a port, right? And now a different, right, yeah, but that's the SSH protocol. I'm thinking of the HTTP protocol. So if you think of Metasploit, right? I think Metasploit runs on the HTTP protocol. So basically, the domain URL and basically, if you change the route, if you change the path of the URL, the path parameters, then you hit a different resource, right? So that's what's
Hmm.
happening here. These are all different resources. So this is leveraging HTTP protocol, right? REST communication, right? So as I hit different resources, right, I get different results. So here, what I'm going ahead and do, right, I'm grabbing the delegate access token. Right now in web applications, in HTTP, right, the cookies, right, you know all about cookies, right? So the cookies, right, aren't going to get for in modern browser development. Cookies don't get sent along, right, by default when there's a request, right? Because back in the day, right, cookie keys are automatically sent, right, and we don't want that anymore,
Right.
right? So if you open up this call, what happened is this is the Angular way of doing it. Angular is the framework that I'm using for the client front end, which is in JavaScript. We send the with credentials. I'm sure you recognize with credentials when it comes to the HTTP API call. So when that happens, that means send this request with the cookies, right? Because by default we don't send the cookies, right? So we go ahead, look in our cookies for this Azure refresh token. Then you use this function to get a new delegate access token, and then we send it back to the front end, right? So this one also assigns the access token in memory, right? It doesn't put it in local storage, it puts it in memory. That's the delegate, right? So with that, any questions? Anything you see wrong in that setup?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and then what we do here is and then what we do, right? And then we go ahead and repeat, and the and the application goes ahead, validates, and then proceeds with the authorization request. Yeah. So so basically, this is one of the things. But ultimately, if you want to get into development, right? Again, to build. So I think before I continue with like the app, like what type of okay, so what type of applications do you do cybersecurity on?
Um. So they're the ones I've used over the past few years are more web based. Um, you access them via URL, login, authenticate, of course. Um, we have uh, log aggregators like the Seam. Um, and what that does is it just imagine just imagine your home router and all of the connections that connect to that router, but you access that router and you can see all of those connections and what's going on with each individual connection. That's what a seam does, but with just like log files. Um, it helps detect uh, any interesting data. You can tune it to pretty much capture whatever you want to be alerted on. Um, so what I said, mention there's a risk management.
Oh yeah, the 201. Yeah, yeah, no,
You
keep going. Yeah.
know what I'm saying? There's a risk management application that I use as well. That's all web based. Um, I think majority of the world has moved away from like a client server type application. Um,
To what
usually
type of
it's all
application?
it's usually web based TLS.
TLS. Yeah, no, no, we still have client server, right? So I think, yeah, no. So there is that the well, there is no other way applications work than client server, right? You could have client to cloud, you could have client to microservices, but there's the client. When you say client server, that keyword alive and well, and there's no other way. Web app mobile applications are working that have to connect to the internet. Um, yeah. So with that, right? So what are those things like the software that you're using to protect? Like, okay, so you have like a basically a management system for like a IoT, like your home router, but it's more like a IoT device. and then you have a management system on top of the IoT device, and then correct me if I'm wrong, and then the cybersecurity is securing that management system of the IoT device. Am I correct?
Can you say that one more time?
Right? You're securing the management system of the IoT of your IoT infrastructure, right? Because when you're saying your home router, I'm thinking that's the management system, right? And this manages many devices in the infrastructure, and that's known as IoT to me. So you're securing that home router or the management system. Is that correct?
Um, in in that sense, like the IoT device itself, they could be individual devices,
Right.
like a light switch, a light bulb, a smart speaker, an Alexa.
Yeah. So ultimately, right, what you want, right, is you want to be able to build the management system, right? Not just secure it. You want to be able to build it from the ground up.
Oh yeah.
So with that, right, that's client server architecture very alive very well, right? So you use so in cloud technologies, right? So depending on your cost and your project, right, what I would advise for you is to work with Angular, right? Angular, right? Like I said, Angular is the application I use. Definitely, if you get stuck on problems, reach out to me. I'm the expert genius whiz on it. As well, Python, right? Is tried and true, trusted, right? I think I hear it. My API develop skills are not where they need to be, but I'm definitely confident Python should meet most of your needs. I mean, if you get a second or third opinion, they say, hey, use this language over that language, then I say yes. But then when it comes to that IoT, right, what you want to do is use a cloud technology such as Google, GCP, right, AWS, or add Azure, right? And I think from what I think, I know that Google, right? I'm familiar with Azure the most, but I do know that I worked with Google IoT. It's known as Google PubSub, right? And that's their IoT solution. So, and then I think in addition to that, if you can, right, because I think what it is when it comes to the software available in cybersecurity, it's not obvious what they're built of. Like they could give you software and they're like the name of the company, right? It's not like the actual software framework being used, right? What you want is like the framework, right, under the software, because like the software is like the name of the application. Like if I pull this up, right, if I go into my applications, right, like McAfee, right, that's a software, but you don't know what it's made of. So that's what I'm imagining for you, right? So you want to say, okay, what is this software made of? Right? What technologies is this software made of? What programming languages is software written in? Right? You really want the framework because, like, programming languages, right? To write software like it in a programming language, nah. But you really want the framework, and then from there, right? The ultimate what I recommend is I'll send you a list of how you get started. I'm gonna send you this list here. Control, and then you learn your CSS. Okay. Then you learn what's RWD, responsive. No, this is if I mean, are you using desktop? You're using desktop apps. I mean, you can learn responsive web design later. Where's the JavaScript? Right, here we go. Right, so then you learn JavaScript. Right, so that's the language. So HTML is like the skeleton of the website. CSS is like the styling, and then JavaScript is like the programming, the functionality for you. And then, right, you want to understand. Yeah, I'm gonna give him that. Okay, yeah, where did it go? I just saw API. Okay, so then learn. Yeah, so it's the server side, right? But I want him to learn Ajax. Or no, should he learn that? Okay, he wants to learn. All right, yeah, that basically I'm saying, all right, build the website, or so build the application, the web application. That I'm trying to find a resource where you communicate, understand, communicate, communicate with the HTTP protocol. And then here, and then let you try to look at this. HTTP caching, cookies, right? So things you want to care about: the cache, the cookies, course, right? Like maybe not too much because you're more interested in the security of securing your devices and getting information about those devices to secure it. So I'd say take this course for you, but um, yeah, I think if you want to dig right, you're gonna find this is a very good resource, right? So it's really going to teach. So here you see the networking, the security. So basically, this is what your application looks like, right? This is your client, right? And then server. Even though there's several different servers communicating, right? Just always know client server communication very alive, very well. All right. So with that, right after that, what you want to go ahead and do? You want to take Angular, learn Angular. I want to see, and then I want to see if there's anything here that oh yeah, he has to learn Node. He has to learn Node. I want to see how bad this gets though. Module. Okay, it's not the worst, but then yeah. So basically, I want you to learn Node so that you could understand the frameworks, but not like this. I want you to. Do they have? Oh, okay, they don't have it like that. So AWS Cloud, right? There's AWS Cloud. All right, even though, right, even though, all right. So also I'm gonna do, right, because you definitely want to use some cloud technology, right, in your setup. I'll throw an AWS Cloud in here as well. They should have features for IoT as well as like all of your security needs as well, because this is definitely a good website that is down to earth. Like some websites get too involved. Some training materials I'm giving you this website because it's that I didn't learn with it, but now I know that it's structured enough and down to earth for people like you also to learn. So with that, he has to learn. So now this is Node.js. So this is basically what front end frameworks are built out of. So let's see if there's any learning. So that's documentation. He's not going to learn like that. About. So can he learn like this? Okay, let's see if he can learn. Okay. Okay, so let's see this. Manipulating files. Command line. Yeah, he's gonna. All right, I definitely want to make this short. Yeah, definitely. I think we'll do. Yeah, definitely take this, and then right. So that's like the server side solution, but ultimately, yeah, let's finish. All right, let's do this for now. Yeah, I know it's getting a bit long. Is it? Is it getting a bit long? But I really, this is like these are the building blocks, right? So and this is like wait, this is ultimately this is what you need for the client, right? But before you get here, right? There's some building blocks, but trust me, these will definitely be worth your while and will get you development, building stuff in no time. So let's get started, right? So now once you learn all that, then fine this. Client side, and then for server side, haven't learned the Python, because if you never knew, most of your security applications are built in Python.
Yeah.
Python, right? And then make sure he learns Flask. Flask backend. It's yeah. Yeah, so definitely with Flask, like there's like they're gonna try to teach you make Flask with a website, but we just want to make Flask with the front end. Right, yeah, not to work. All right, let's try to see this. Okay, okay. There we go. All right, yep. Then yeah. All right, yeah. I think you could probably cap it off of here, and then I'll just take it to the Flask website. Right, and then you take it to Flask tutorial. Okay, sounds good. All right, yeah. So basically, this is definitely the list. This is definitely the list for you. And then you have database. You're interested in database development too.
Uh, yeah, eventually. That's part of the stack, though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Let's yeah. So on the website, you should be able to find it. So I'm sure you know SQL. I'm pretty sure once you get, I'm pretty sure once you take these courses that you know what you want to do. Um, can okay, but I do want but definitely when it comes to identifying data, like database best practices, I definitely want to make sure um you know about normalization, so you don't build a bad database. Great. Hopefully this. Okay. Hopefully. Okay. So yeah, definitely you want to and that when it comes to databases, this is how you want to start, and then you should be able to go from there. But definitely start with this. Start with this for sure, so you could build good databases, right? So these are these. So do you have Facebook? Do you have LinkedIn? I could connect with you so that I want you to use this information.
yeah,
You have Link?
I actually I clicked on the. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone you know, like, hey, the guy's doing some code. He's having a session, live coding session. Share.
How often do you do these sessions?
I try to do them every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
You do it with work?
Yeah. So this because I can't do them both, right? So this is work. So work. I might as well do them at the same time.
Gotcha. Do you have a site created for like your portfolio?
Yeah. I'm gonna work on it. Yeah, I'll send you. Yeah, I'll send it. But I think they're close. I'm not sure. You want to see it?
I'm I'm I asked because I'm about to dive into this like AWS essay, and I know when I dive into it, I want to at least have like a portfolio
Oh no,
to
not that
where I
type of
can.
portfolio. No. Um. Yeah. So I think what you need is like a tutorial set, like a cheat sheet set. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. AWS is not. I think what it. Yeah. Yeah. No. I don't got a series of examples for you. Right. I don't got like
Gotcha.
examples upon examples.
Right.
That I'm trying to get there. Right. I think for Angular, I do have a lot of videos. Right. Show you how to do things. Right. In Angular, I'm trying to work on that, like a set of libraries for your needs. But as far as examples, like you're trying to just a portfolio. Yeah.
Hmm.
No. All right, so while I'm here, I'm just gonna get to coding again. All right. Okay, if you're speaking, you're on mute. I can't add as a friend. All right, so we're getting a 201. So basically, I want to check. Okay, so all right, so basically, I'm getting a 201. I'm getting a message, but I'm getting a 201. Right. So right. So I think this will be right. So basically, for my free, right? This should be limited, but I think, for the purposes intended, we shouldn't get too much traffic. But until then. Right, so what I want to go ahead and do is I want to check. I want to use like a JavaScript include. So like if a list of items includes in Python, let's see if that exists. Oh wait, so I think I know how to do this, right? L in list if so I say not in 200 201, then I raise the API server error. All right, so I think the third time I go about this again, then I think the third time I go about this, we'll contact you for the next steps, right? So there's that. So now what I want to go ahead and focus on, right? The right. So now I'm getting some email. So basically, I want to send this file information along here, right? So I get so this is like the emails that I'm starting to get, right? But right, I guess this is fair for now, right? I can have them as a list, right? I'm not too interested in transforming them right now, but what I want to go ahead and do is that I want to like reroute these. I want to have like a file. I think I forgot how to do this, so I think for now, um, right? I think for now, what I want to do is I'll just leave as is. Right. So with that now, what I want to do is I want to be able to attach. I need to also have file uploads attachments, right? Because these two attachments here, right? These need to be sent. So let me try to look at the documentation, see how it's done. All right. So that's the slice box I want to work on next. Um. So let's just say rest dbio send mail file attachments. Now I'm really worried. Now I'm really really worried if I could actually do this. If I could actually attach a mail in these emails. I should be able to because all I'm doing is sending mail. But if not, I think. Okay, so I think what I want to do instead, I may want to set up Azure Storage. And I know I set up Azure Storage Emulator before, right? So I may want to go ahead and do that. Let's see if there's an API. Images are getting attached, but it's not immediately obvious how. I don't think it's available here. Suppose I reach out to support. Right, so ultimately, what I want to do is I want to set up storage, right? But now, to kind of keep track of storage, I may need a database solution. That's what I'm thinking, right? But I think for the meanwhile, what I can do is I could go ahead and deploy the code for Eventbrite. Right. So basically, here there's events. So the user go ahead and purchase, and once they hit submit, then emails are get sent out. So ultimately, what I want to do is I want to set up that automation. So I'm gonna go over to my events main. I'm gonna turn on this automation like so, and then also while that automation's configuring itself, I want to go ahead and update. I want to go ahead and update my events service. So this is a purchase ticket, right? So not using a SendGrid anymore. So, but we're not using this admin rec body, right? So, although we're gonna give it the name admin rec, I'm gonna say admin rec body, right, is now going to equal to send email restdb.io, right, and then email template and personalization subject, right? So that's going to be my admin. Oh, this may not even be needed, right? That's going to be a result. So admin response, and then what I want to go ahead and do, and honestly, I'm wondering if I should raise the server area error in this function, because then I'm just repeating myself. So I think that's what I want to go ahead and do, because it doesn't really make sense to repeat myself. Because if I get the save, if I don't get a 200 or 201, then throw that error. So let's try to implement that there. So I really don't really need to return anything. Then I might as well just go ahead and return. Yeah, I might as well not return this now. And Control Shift T. I think collegiate was the endpoint. My util. Alright, so those two values I want to go ahead and print out. And now collegiate, so it's no events. Alright, so now here, this is for the admin. Now this is going to be for the client. Maybe I should split these up into functions. So I believe I have the email template again. So now all I need, so I just get rid of this. And I set up my email template again. And then if there's any errors, then I remove what I need to remove. Right, but also see here, right, so front email is not getting used, right, and then my two emails, right, so when I go back to this function, so I'm looking at my two emails, right, so I believe, right, so for the cuts for the admin, right, I could leave them by their defaults. Look for the server, look for server side. I think what I want to go ahead and do is but send it to the customer. I want to make sure that the two emails get sent along, because I need to send this to the correct customer. Let's see how things go. My email here. Mail.com. Let's go ahead and hit submit. Alright, so we have to go select the wallet. So I definitely believe all my information should still be here. And I believe request is already pending. So I need to sign in. Alright, so basically I think there's a request trying to go through. Yeah, so basically ask if I want to use my MetaMask or Coinbase. Let's try to unlock what I like to do. I definitely want to connect with people to help me control. Um, but it looks like that's not the case. I have no DM connections. The MetaMask. Let's try to see what's going on here. Yeah, I could try to disconnect the wallet from the application. Right, and that's how I get to connect. Right, and then Coinbase definitely likes to jump in, but That's okay. So now, alright, so okay, keeping it hijacked. They're definitely eat. So then I'm trying to send it over. Right, so I believe that means it went through. Now I have to check my email. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. See here, right? In production, I send out the actual email, but in dev, I think I just keep it to the developer. So let's try to look at the account. Right, so yeah, there it is. I think the background was supposed to be black, but here it is. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Really, really nice. Let me try to forward it to my Gmail and see how that looks. Maybe I'll just do that later. But that's really nice. So basically, I got this working, so I want to go ahead, stop what I'm doing here, and try to deploy this code. Yeah, so and I want to deploy this code over to production, and then we go from there. So that'll be all for now. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, reach out to us in the comment section for any help, tips, and suggestions.